When the pandemic hit, I rediscovered Lissa Rankin. I read her book Mind Over Medicine and had done workshops with her before, but then kind of forgot about her, and then she came back into my awareness when the pandemic hit and I started questioning things. I think I have talked about this before, that I did the spiritual bypassing course she offered that changed a lot for me and kind of also pulled the rug out of under my feet, and I started questioning a lot of things, and it led me, ultimately it was the first step that then led me to Dr. Ramani's healing program from narcissistic abuse. But there was another course she was offering, Lissa Rankin, that was called Healing with the Muse, and we were doing what I think delightful prompts, journaling prompts, and then would have a few minutes to write about them. And so the next snippet I'm going to attach is about that, and it was about, I think, if your muse was writing a letter to you. I think it was something like that, but my muse was a little bit more kind of wild, is a good way to put it, and yes, you will see. But I think what I would like to talk about in this context is that so that muse that appeared was a very, just kind of like a force that wants to be, or wants me to be, a little bit more mischievous, a little bit more naughty, not always playing along or not always doing what other people expect me to do to stand up for myself. And I think I thought a little bit on this, and I was wondering, do we maybe all have, or most of us have, this part? It feels for me particularly that part, that more naughty, mischievous, rebellious part, very easily goes underground, or I let it go underground, and maybe that other part that wants to, get along with people is much stronger. And I think so it can feel very threatening to even allow this more unruly force within us to even emerge. And for me, the space, I think, where I noticed it most was, again, theater, improvisation, and I would come up, with improvisations that were just raw, and I was telling how I felt, or my truth, or it were edgy, yes, and it was so much fun, but I obviously also knew it was kind of safe, It was not Anya, in quotes, it was Anya the performer, and so it enabled me to do those things I, in real life, didn't allow myself to do. Also because and still to this day, I do have a very, this idea of just telling your truth no matter what. I have a very, what shall I say, mixed feelings with this, because I happen to know or have known people who kind of abuse this. Oh, I'm just telling the truth to abuse someone else emotionally, and it's very harsh and not compassionate. And so I try to be very careful not to do the same thing. And so so it becomes a struggle, maybe my compassion or empathy wins over my need to stand up for myself and to say how I feel. And ideally, I always think there must be a possibility to combine those two, to be telling your truth and be compassionate. But it's a tough one. It's a tough one, I think. I remember I had a phase where I imagined what would it be like to go to a job interview and then do crazy things like eat a banana or like just do something that was not, that was going against the unwritten rule how you should behave within an interview. It's just, I think it's kind of like this, I don't know, there's kind of inner naughtiness or mischievousness that wants to do things, or like the trickster, yes? The trickster that wants to do things that are out of the norm and that for sure people won't approve of. And I think, I don't know, it's really a tricky one because we live in a culture, there are rules, there are good rules, maybe some rules that even make sense, others that don't. And it's always the question, how much do we adjust and where do we create spaces where we maybe can be a little bit more unruly. For me, that's creativity. But having said that, I still think we somehow need to learn to, when it really matters, to stand up for ourselves. I unfortunately have been someone who kind of, would take a lot of stuff, and then at some point, it's been very few times in my life, I would kind of lose it and just really tell my truth, and that didn't go so well at times either. So I don't know, I would love to make a little bit more space for that wild muse that is drumming and being a bit louder. You will see in the story that drops tomorrow, I think. Yes, tomorrow evening. So do you have this as well, that you would like to be a little bit more mischievous, or sometimes just tell people what you really think and not care? I would love to hear. That's it for today. Take care. Bye-bye. Your creative rebel. The Wild Muse. Chaka, 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 boom, boom. My muse is sitting behind a drumming set and is playing a wild welcome tune for me. Drums are pink, feather earrings flying, hair flying, leather jacket, cool rocker bitch boots pink, dark pink. Not girly pink, she doesn't like that so much. Dark, badass, unapologetic pink. Now she is roaring.